Hi, Angie.
Hi, Angie.
Thanks for calling. I got a little. Really, I just found out about you were calling just before the show. I've been a little under the weather.
I,
I've not been doing a lot of prep work, which sort of slows my roll here a little bit. But Ken, I appreciate you calling. Ken would like to interview you about an incident with E911 that you had recently.
yeah, well, why don't you just tell us basically what happened with Justice back in September, for those of the listeners that don't know.
Sure. Back on September 16th, my family received a call that Justice was involved in an accident out on US 20 near County Line Road. The initial person on the scene was a gentleman from Portage. He was Portage councilman. He actually called Portage Police Department to get there quick because they were right on the county line. Another police officer, Gary police officer, showed up. A truck driver and his girlfriend, Zach and Jamie, they showed up, and a retired nurse. So you have 5 first responders on the scene, one that had already made a call to Portage Police Department that was en route, and then one of the Gary police officers that made a call to Gary. Gary then in turn dismissed Portage Police Department, said Gary was en route. They sent a prompt ambulance, which was 18 minutes out. Prompt clearly asked them, are you sure you want us to go? We're 18 minutes away. They said yes. Prompt ambulance arrived on the scene. Justice was in no condition for Prompt to take care of her, so they immediately had them call Gary Fire Department. Gary Fire Department was there within about 3 minutes. All in all, the whole entire time, it took probably 40 minutes for her to be taken to the hospital, where eventually resulted in her passing away.
And
the initial call, the dispatcher never heightened the situation that it was so important, and according to the Gary mayor, who also said that she should have followed protocol and called dispatch the Gary Fire Department right away, that didn't happen. So with this whole consolidation going on and the time that it took for them to get to her, her life could have been saved, and we really appreciate the first responders that were there. They took action as best they could, but we really just want some answers on what this is all about. The new article that come out today, now it seems like it's all about money. They're going to cut some dispatchers. How can you cut some dispatchers when you don't even have training?
Let's get into that in a minute, but let's talk about the story first. Now, first of all, I want to give credit to who I think is probably the best writer in the region, Jerry Davich, who covered this story very well. So if you're out there and you haven't read that story yet, go ahead. You can Google it, whatever, and it'll come up. Great story that he did. Actually, 2 articles, correct?
Yes,
on the situation. And what was the total time from the first call till the prompt ambulance got there? 27, was it?
Yeah, it was about 27 minutes. It was really close to 30 minutes.
And Jeremy Rivas, who is I think he's a Porter County councilman, said he was on the phone and he made several calls to 911, not just one. So he had called back and they still didn't escalate the situation. But at this point, you probably understand more than the average citizen that an ambulance isn't just an ambulance. There are different levels of service, and I don't completely understand this as much as I want to, or as much as I should. But you mentioned that the prompt ambulance then called for the Gary EMS. Is that correct?
Correct. From my understanding, when they got there, they were not equipped to handle the situation with Justice. She was worse off than what dispatch had relayed to them,
and so they
needed the assistance of the Gary Fire Department.
So they were planning to show up and transport a car accident victim, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And she needed some immediate life support on the scene, which they didn't have the capability to deliver. And so this is one of the issues that's come up time and again in my discussions with people in different fire departments in different areas, is that improper equipment is even today, still being dispatched to different scenes. And
so it's not just human error, as in the case where Brian Hitchcock, who's under fire today from the Lake County Council. If you checked out the article today, Ted Bilski saying, if we're not saving anything, let's give it back to them. Angie, we've talked about this since before this thing was implemented, that we're better off telling the downstate to keep their blood money that they're trying to force us to do, and because everybody in their particular areas knows every nook and cranny of where they're at. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
There's no way that someone that's just coming in as a new dispatcher can know every street and every. There's obviously opportunities for these mistakes, putting a 3 into it instead of an 8 into the address, which caused the most recent one in Griffith. They're under a lot of pressure. So what do? Like you said, they're cutting the dispatchers instead of the meatheads at the top. Where again, the Hitchcock was called a liar by someone in this story.
Dante Rondelli, who is probably the smartest guy in county government.
Well, that's good to hear. Can we get him on more often?
Yeah.
So what?
Now let's talk about what you're doing now, which I think is what really makes the story. I mean, a lot of people would just go, "Oh, what can I do?" But you're actually taking this and trying to do something positive with your story. So let's talk about that.
I am. We're actually putting together a candlelight vigil. We're going to do this on the Lake County Courthouse yard outside of the gates. Currently, we're kind of looking for some safe parking and, to stay safe off of the road. We would like anybody who would be able to get there to come. Will be held November 17th at 7 p.m. We want this to be a peaceful but very, loud, quote unquote. Let people hear our voices. We need these dispatchers. We cannot allow them to cut these jobs and have these dispatchers working 16 hours a day with 1 day off. Wow. We have to have proper training for them. We have to have continual training for them. We need protocols plastered in front of them. So if they're having a bad day, memory slips, okay, let me look up here and make sure that I'm following my protocol. So that's what this is about. It's about getting justice for justice. That's what our campaign is called at this point. But it's really to get justice for everyone and to allow everyone to come out and let our voices be heard, that we won't just sit by and tolerate them cutting things for money. Now it's money versus lives, and that just can't happen.
Right. Thanks so much for your call, and we're very sorry here at WJOB for your loss. And can you, as the vigil gets closer, even like the day before, would you please write down our phone number and give us a call back at 845-1100, and we would like to promote that event so that as many people here in the region can join you guys in the celebration of justice. Okay.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
And go to the Justice for Justice page on Facebook. Click like. And you can get all the